Welcome to our YouTube channel. Today, we bring you a story full of surprises and hidden angles that few people know about. Don't leave just yet. Just when you think you've figured it all out, there are fascinating and meaningful details waiting for you at the end of the video. Let's explore together and uncover the special message this video has for you. Are you ready? Let's get started. Through the rugged mountains and vast deserts, beasts of burden traverse the path to Otrar, laden with treasures from the distant east. A caravan of 400 men slows its approach to the illustrious Islamic city, its skyline dominated by a majestic citadel and graceful sandstone structures. Upon arrival, they present themselves to Enelchuk, the town's governor, declaring their mission to deliver a grand trade offering from their master. For the nomadic tribes of the Golden Steppe, once fragmented, now ride under one banner, the banner of Temujin, the man known as Genghis Khan. Enelchuk, wary or perhaps driven by greed, informs his nephew, Shah Muhammad II, ruler of the Khwarezmian Empire, of the caravan's presence. With the Shah's approval, Enelchuk betrays the caravan, slaughtering its members and seizing their precious goods for profit. Yet one survivor escapes the massacre, making his way back to report to Genghis Khan. The Mongol response is swift and deliberate. 3 humble envoys appear before Shah Muhammad, urging peace and demanding Enelchuk's surrender. But the Shah, emboldened by his conquests and dismissive of the nomads, arrests the emissaries. One is executed, while the others are sent back to Genghis Khan with their beards humiliatingly shorn and bearing their companion's severed head. The Shah underestimates the Mongols, even as reports of their brutal campaigns in China reach him. He recalls the tales of Zhongdu, the great Jin dynasty capital, where Mongols breached towering walls and left behind a landscape of horror. Slick fields of human fat, ghostly piles of bones, and the acrid stench of death. Still, the Shah sees himself as untouchable, a sovereign who answers neither to Baghdad's Abbasid Caliphate in the west, nor to the Mongols in the east. Recently expanding his territory with ruthless campaigns, he believes his empire's jagged eastern mountains and the narrow Zungarian Gate will shield him from retribution. Yet Genghis Khan's army is relentless. While Khwarezmian forces brace themselves at the Zungarian Gate, a secondary Mongol force, 30,000 strong, takes the treacherous Tian Shan Pass. Battling icy winds and perilous cliffs, they emerge into the Fergana Valley, plundering as they go. The Shah leads his army to confront them, only to face the disciplined precision of Mongol cavalry. Feigned retreats and devastating arrow volleys bleed his troops dry. Though the Khwarezmian forces hold their ground by nightfall, they discover by morning that the Mongols have vanished, slipping further into their lands. Unbeknownst to the Shah, the force he fought was merely a vanguard led by Joki and Jeeb. From the Zungarian Gate, the main Mongol army advances. Enelchuk fortifies Otrar, sealing its gates and preparing for war. Yet when the city's lookouts spot the approaching Mongol host, the sight leaves even Enelchuk speechless. Drums roar like thunder. The air turns blue, the earth black, and the horizon seethes with unending ranks of riders. It is Genghis Khan himself, leading a vast army to exact vengeance. Otrar's walls hold for a time, but the Mongols lay siege, employing newly acquired Chinese siege weaponry to devastating effect. Months drag on, and the city's supply lines are severed. Within, the Shah's overtaxed and reluctant subjects waver in their loyalty, many already suffering under his harsh rule. Outside, the Mongols encircle Otrar like an unyielding storm, determined to claim their retribution. In a desperate act of betrayal, General Karacha rides out from Otrar's gates with his followers, defecting to the Mongols in hopes of securing his own survival. But the Mongols, ruthless and unwavering, see his treachery as a sign of his unreliability. Without hesitation, they execute Karacha and his officers, using his death as a grim message to others who might consider betrayal. Inside Otrar, unrest brews, and traitors seeking to end the unrelenting siege secretly open an unguarded gate. The Mongols storm through, unleashing a brutal massacre upon soldiers and civilians alike, pillaging the once thriving city. Governor Inalchuck and his remaining troops retreat to the citadel, mounting a desperate final stand. For weeks, they hold out until every defender has fallen. Alone and cornered, Inalchuck barricades himself in a room overlooking the smoldering ruins of his city. In a futile display of defiance, he hurls bricks at the advancing Mongols, but his resistance is short-lived. Captured and dragged before his conquerors, he faces a fate as merciless as the wrath he provoked. Genghis Khan declares that the destruction of the Khwarezmian Empire stems from Inalchuck's greed and treachery. To punish the disgraced governor, the Mongols mete out a grotesque sentence. Molten silver is poured into his eyes and ears, ensuring a gruesome death that cements his infamy. Some accounts suggest a simpler end, claiming he was strangled or trampled to death. Either way, Inalchuck's death signals the fall of Otrar and the beginning of the Mongols' devastating sweep across the empire. As tens of thousands of Mongols plunder the Khwarezmian lands, Shah Muhammad prepares for a last stand, rallying his forces before the gates of Samarkand. But Genghis Khan, ever the strategist, vanishes into the inhospitable Kizilkum Desert with his main force, leaving the Shah to guess his next move. Meanwhile, the city of Bokhara, famed for its grand mosques and bustling markets, becomes the next target of Mongol vengeance. This was the place where Inalchuck sold the stolen treasures from the ill-fated Mongol caravan, and the Khan intends to reclaim what was taken. Emerging from the desert sands, the Mongols besiege Bokhara, using Khwarezmian prisoners as human shields. Within days, thousands of defenders sally forth from the gates, only to be slaughtered by the Mongols, who then pour into the city. Genghis Khan himself enters Bokhara, addressing its terrified inhabitants. "O people, know that you have committed great sins," he proclaims. "If you ask me what proof I have for these words, I say it is because I am the punishment of God. If you had not committed these sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you." With meticulous precision, the Mongols scour the city's records, identifying nobles who purchased the stolen goods. Those who fail to return their plunder are executed without mercy. The assault continues as the Mongols force captured civilians to fill the citadel's moat with their bodies, creating a grisly bridge for their siege weapons. Once the walls are breached, the defenders are slaughtered. The city's remaining inhabitants fare no better. Wealthy merchants are tortured for their treasures. Women are brutally violated, and the population is enslaved, conscripted, or killed. Flames consume the city, reducing its majestic mosques and teeming slums to ash. The Mongols ride out, their sights set on the empire's jewel, the capital city of Samarkand. The Mongols advance relentlessly toward the walls of Samarkand, crushing every Khwarezmian force that attempts to relieve the besieged city. News soon reaches Genghis Khan that Shah Muhammad II has slipped through the Mongol lines and disappeared into the wilderness. Resolute, the Khan dispatches thousands of troops under the command of his legendary generals Jeeb and Subutai to hunt down the fleeing Shah, while he leads his main army to lay final claim to Samarkand. Inside the capital, the kingly and Turkic defenders, weary and fearful, sue for surrender, pleading their unwillingness to resist. Genghis Khan, with calculated coldness, promises them mercy, but his promise is a ruse. The moment the defenders lay down their arms, the Mongols butcher them. The slaughter extends to the entire city, where systematic massacres leave no quarter for the populace. Only a select few artisans, valued for their skills, and a handful of women taken as concubines are spared. As Shah Muhammad flees deeper into obscurity, the Mongol army exacts its vengeance, razing city after city across his domain. Sporadic victories by Khwarezmian forces only serve to inflame the Mongols' wrath. In the city of Urgench, enraged Mongol generals breach dams, unleashing a deluge that drowns every inhabitant. Later, in Nishapur, the Mongols' fury reaches horrific heights. They separate the severed heads of men, women, and children into distinct piles, creating macabre monuments to their conquest. Tales of the Mongols' atrocities spread like wildfire through the land, casting Genghis Khan as a figure of apocalyptic terror, the Accursed One. As his kingdom crumbles, Shah Muhammad II is reduced to a fugitive, pursued relentlessly by Subutais forces. Most of his family falls into Mongol hands. His sons are executed, his daughters taken as concubines, and his mother exiled to Mongolia to live out her days in destitution. Finally, hidden on a desolate island surrounded by the mournful waters of the Caspian Sea, the Shah succumbs to disease, leaving behind a shattered legacy. By 1221, resistance against the Mongols briefly reignites under the Shah's son, Jalal ad-Din, who manages to rout several Mongol detachments. Yet his defiance only draws the ire of Genghis Khan himself, who personally leads a campaign to crush Jalal ad-Din's forces, driving him into the jungles of India. With the Khwarezmian Empire in ruins, the Mongols set their sights on new horizons. Genghis Khan, ever ambitious, knows that there are still countless lands and peoples in Asia and Europe awaiting his conquest. Across the scorched remnants of the Shah's once mighty empire, the Mongols press forward, an unstoppable tide of destruction. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you found this story interesting and meaningful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any exciting content coming up. Leave a comment to share your thoughts. We're eager to hear from you. See you in the upcoming videos with more unique and meaningful stories. Stay with us.